The opportunity to speak tonight. Let's say a word of prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for this time. Thank you for this church. Help me to be a blessing. Calm my nerves. Help me to say the things you have me to say. In Jesus' name, amen. So tonight I'm going to speak about something that everybody deals with. We all do. We all come from Adam. We all have sin nature. A lot of times we think we're doing things right, but things aren't working out, and we don't know why. I think sometimes the answer is our pride. If we turn to 1 Peter chapter 5, where I turn there, I'll tell you a little story that I read. Ronald Reagan, when he was governor of California, made a trip and went down to Mexico City to give a speech. And he was a pretty good speaker and wrote good speeches and delivered them well. And he got up and gave the speech, which he thought was exceptionally well, but came down to a little applause. There wasn't much response to his speech, and he was a little bit embarrassed and offended. Thought, boy, these people aren't appreciating what I have to say. Another gentleman got up after him and began speaking in Spanish, and Ronald Reagan, he didn't speak Spanish, but he's just thinking, why? At every pause, he's getting all this great applause, and they didn't have the courtesy to give me the applause, so he started giving heavy and loud and long applause at everyone, just to show that he was appreciating the speech, but they weren't. But he wasn't being appreciated until his aide leaned over and said, "Mr. Governor, he's translating your speech." So sometimes we can be offended about something and get our pride injured, and our response has to be correct. But let's read in 1 Peter chapter 5. And starting in verse 1, the elders which are among you I exhort, whom also am an elder, and a witness of the sufferings of Christ, and also a partaker of the glory that we shall be revealed. Feed the flock of God which is among you, taking the oversight thereof, not by constraint, but willingly, not for filthy lucre, but of a ready mind, neither as being lords over God's heritage, but being ensamples of the flock. And when the chief shepherd shall appear, you shall receive a crown of glory that fadeth not away. Likewise, the younger, submit yourselves unto the elder. Yea, all of you be subject one to another, and be clothed with humility. For God resisteth the proud, and giveth grace to the humble. So I want to see first God's position on pride. For the most part, all of us are trying to do the right thing. Okay, we're trying to live a Christian life. We're trying to do things the right way. We're trying to make good choices. But sometimes we're frustrated, and we don't realize why. I think sometimes we're doing things for the wrong reasons, out of pride, and God's resisting our efforts. A lot of times we see non-believers, people in the world that they aren't living for God. They have no regard for spiritual things, and they're doing things their own way. And from the outside, they seem like they're having success. Things are going their way, and we don't understand that, and we get frustrated by that. A lot of times, we can make choices ourselves, and we're trying to sustain ourselves and make things for ourselves. I'll give you an example. In my life this year, I'm in business, and I run a business and make decisions for myself and my family and everybody else. And I was given an opportunity to do a project for this company in California. I thought, this seemed like a really good opportunity, and was kind of like in our wheelhouse, and we should be doing this, and this is all going to work out, and it's going to be a good fit for us. I made a decision to take on this project, and so we started on the project, and it wasn't long into it, and I realized that maybe this wasn't such a good opportunity. We had delays, had a lot of difficulties, even as we're delivering the machine out to California, one of the trucks got in a wreck, and everything was delivered late. When we got there, the conditions were bad, and the customer was upset. I ended up spending a month out there trying to remedy things, and it all ended up to where once we did all the work, then I never got paid. So I realized, boy, this wasn't a good situation. And I looked back on it, and I thought, boy, what did I do wrong? And then I realized, I wasn't trusting God, and I didn't consult Him. I was trusting in my own understanding and my own experience and my ability to work things out. And God was resisting me for making that decision myself. And I think that's the kind of thing that we can have. Let's turn to Psalms chapter 101 and verse 5. Psalms chapter 101, verse 5. Whoso privily slandereth his neighbor, him will I cut off. Him that hath a high look and a proud heart will I not suffer. So this is God's view again. Him that hath a high look and a proud heart will I not suffer. He doesn't have much patience for pride. And a high look, we have to understand that our countenance reflects our heart. Let's turn to Proverbs chapter 6, verse 16. It says, These 6 things doth the Lord hate, yea, 7 are an abomination unto him, a proud look, a lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that deviseth wicked imaginations, feet that be swift in running to mischief, a false witness that speaketh lies, and he that soweth discord among their brethren. God hates a proud look. You say, how do you identify a proud look? When someone's walking down the street and has a proud look, you know it when you see it. And sometimes I feel like I'm projecting that myself. I have to travel a lot for my work sometimes, and a lot of times I'll work the whole day, and then in the evening drive down to the airport and fly, and so I don't waste a lot of time, get in late, and then go to work the next day where I'm at. And I have a lot of things on my mind, and I'm being preoccupied, and I would realize that I would be walking through the airport with a stern look on my face. Not that I was upset about anything, I was just busy. And I realized that because I'd normally go to Dallas, and I would check in the same hotel, and the same guy would pick me up in the shuttle. And one time I kind of struck up a conversation with him. He would say, "Boy, I think you look like you're always really busy." I'm like, "Oh, that's something." I started thinking about that. And as I got to talk to him more, eventually I was able to witness the gentleman, and he trusted Christ. But I learned from him, though, too. I tried to make an effort that whenever I'm in public, I purposely have a smile on my face. Try to walk around smiling because I'm trying to show, hey, I have a happy heart. I mean, I'm not upset about anything. And I found in the last few years as I do that, boy, a lot of people approach me and come up and talk to me, to ask me questions. And I think this is something that, like I said, I was fortunate enough that I recognized that in myself and tried to fix that. And I think that that's something God's talking about. What do we look like? Satan wants to feed our pride. Satan knows God's position on pride. He knows he hates it. He resists it. Okay? And he knows our nature. Satan's an expert on pride. That was his sin. He said, hey, he's puffed up and lifted up, that I can be like God. And even the temptation in the garden, he was tempting Eve with that. You can be like God. Take this fruit. He understands that he uses all kinds of things in the world to tempt us. Music, a lot of our culture is full of ways to feed our pride. Secular music and wicked music. You see people walking down the street with earbuds, and you see they got that stern look on their face, being pumped full of pride. Any kind of that. Advertising wants to feed our pride. Politics, people are always being told, you deserve this, you deserve this, you deserve this. Boy, if we really got what we deserved, boy, it wouldn't be good. A lot of times people, we feed our own insecurities. We think we're inadequate. It's a form of shielding ourselves, a form of pride. But we know God's position on pride. We know Satan wants to feed our pride, and how to combat pride. Let's turn to Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 4. So Habakkuk, he's a prophet in the Old Testament, and the whole first chapter of the book of Habakkuk, I would call it complaining. He's complaining to God. He sees the wicked people around, and he feels like they're not being judged. He sees God's people. He feels like they're not being blessed, and complaining to God about this. And he knows it's a complaint because if you see in the first verse of chapter 2, it says, I will stand upon my watch, I will set me upon the tower, and I will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. He knows God's going to reprove him. He knows he's out of place. But he's asking God, hey, why does the wicked have such an easy time? Why are God's people not being blessed? Why is there all these problems? And if you look in in verse 4 of chapter 2, behold his soul, this is God's answer. Behold his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. Behold the soul that is lifted up is not upright in him. Hey, you're puffed up, you're lifted up, you're lifting yourselves up. This is pride. And this is a contrasting word, but the just shall live by his faith. That's the contrast. What's the opposite of pride? Faith. If we live by faith, we let God sustain us instead of ourselves. That's the exercise we need to do. If we don't exercise faith, we're exercising pride. Just shall live by faith, echoed in Romans, Galatians, Hebrews. We see it throughout the New Testament. And we think we have everything figured out. We think we're our own sustenance. We trust our own decisions. We trust our intentions. We got good intentions. Things should work out for us. But we're not having faith in God. And Hebrews, my last verse, Hebrews chapter 11, verse 6. Says, without faith it is impossible to please him, for he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. We cannot please God without faith. We all have a list of do's and don'ts that we think please God. But are we doing those through faith? I am like Habakkuk. Sometimes I'm impatient. I'm impatient for God's judgment. I'm impatient for God's rewards. I'm impatient for the harvest. I'm a farmer too, and I have to plant and have to water, and you got to patiently wait for the harvest. I think sometimes we get impatient for those kind of things. We're pushing, and we try to harvest when it's too soon, and we damage the harvest. We're impatient for rewards. Luckily, with my story about my situation in California, I came to the realization that things were not working out. I came back and said, what was my mistake? My mistake was I didn't ask God. And so I confessed and asked God, please help me, bail me out of this situation. And things slowly started turning around. And now, luckily, right before, Friday before Christmas, God was able to work things out, and I was able to sell that equipment to somebody else. And God blessed me for my repenting and asking him for his help. But one thing I want to just get across is that God resists pride, and faith is the only way we can please him.